past isn't gone, it's finally being built again. Across continents and time, the echoes of African design pulse anew, weaving the ancient with the future and the fabric of modern architecture. This is a story of roots rediscovered, of heritage reclaimed, not as relics confined to museums, but as living, breathing forms shaping cities and skylines. From the rhythmic patterns of West African textiles to the soaring mud towers of the Sahel, African design has long been a testament to ingenuity, community, and harmony with the environment. Now, these ancestral principles are stirring a renaissance, inspiring architects and artists worldwide to reimagine space, light, and structure through a lens both timeless and revolutionary. As the world turns its gaze toward a more inclusive future, the rebirth of African design in modern architecture stands as a profound declaration. History is not forgotten, but reborn. For centuries, African architecture thrived on intimate relationships with nature, culture, and spirituality. Villages were not mere collections of buildings. They were living organisms, where every curve and courtyard held meaning. The great mosque of Djenné in Mali, with its sun-baked mud walls and sculptural pillars, exemplifies this union of function and faith. Its organic form breathes with the desert air, a monument built by hands and hearts in rhythmic community labor. Yet, colonial forces and global narratives often dismissed these edifices as primitive or transient. The grandeur of African design was overshadowed by imposed Western ideals. Today, those narratives are unraveling. Architects revisit these timeless forms, recognizing their sophisticated responses to climate, social cohesion, and aesthetics. This reverence for ancestral wisdom is more than homage. It is a blueprint for sustainable innovation. In the modern era, a new generation of architects, many African-born or inspired, are merging tradition with technology. They draw from the symbolic motifs etched in textiles and pottery, symbols representing identity, history, and cosmology, and transpose them onto facades of glass and steel. The result is a dialogue between old and new, where patterns become filters of light, screens of privacy, and signifiers of cultural pride. One such visionary is Francis Kéré, a Burkinabe architect whose work embodies this fusion. His designs use local materials, compressed earth, timber, and thatch, paired with modern engineering to create schools and community centers that are simultaneously contemporary and deeply rooted. Kéré's buildings breathe with the environment, cooling naturally and fostering connection. His work is a testament to how African design principles can lead the way toward regenerative architecture. The impact of this renaissance stretches beyond the continent's borders. In global cities from New York to Paris, architects incorporate African elements as acts of cultural reclamation and celebration. The Afro-futurist movement, blending African heritage with speculative visions of the future, finds architectural expression in buildings that challenge Eurocentric aesthetics. These structures do not merely mimic African forms, they reinterpret them, embedding stories of resilience and identity into the urban fabric. The use of vibrant colors, intricate patterns, and organic shapes stands as a counterpoint to uniform glass towers, insisting on diversity in the narrative of modernity. Through this, architecture becomes a medium of memory and empowerment, a vessel carrying the legacies of ancestors into new realms of possibility. Before the rise of colonial borders, African design was a language shared across vast regions, evolving through trade, migration, and exchange. The Swahili coast's coral stone houses, with their carved wooden doors, tell stories of Indian Ocean connections and Islamic influence. In the Yoruba city-states of Nigeria, palaces and shrines embody cosmologies through sculptural reliefs and spatial hierarchy. Each building is a text, a layered manuscript of identity and belief. The rebirth of these forms in contemporary architecture honors this continuity, asserting that African design is not static folklore, but a dynamic, living grammar. Architects and artisans collaborate to revive traditional crafts, integrating them into modern building techniques. This fusion preserves intangible heritage while pushing the boundaries of innovation, crafting spaces that are both ancestral and avant-garde. The environmental wisdom embedded in African architecture resonates profoundly today as global consciousness turns toward sustainability. Traditional African structures often employ passive cooling, natural ventilation, and locally sourced materials, principles now championed by green architects worldwide. The Sudanese-style mosques, thick earthen walls and tapered minarets, regulate temperature with elegant simplicity, a model for climate-responsive design. This ecological intelligence is not accidental, but born from centuries of harmonious coexistence with harsh landscapes. Modern architects, inspired by these lessons, seek to build in ways that honor the land and reduce carbon footprints. The revival of African design is thus not only cultural but ecological, a vital contribution to the urgent dialogue on how we inhabit the earth responsibly. Yet, this rebirth is not without challenges. The legacies of colonialism and globalization often marginalize indigenous knowledge and craftsmanship. Many traditional building techniques face extinction as urbanization accelerates and economies favor imported materials. The renaissance of African design in architecture is an act of resistance against this erasure. It requires reclaiming narratives, empowering local artisans, and fostering education rooted in ancestral wisdom. Institutions like the African Architecture Foundation and the Graduate School of Architecture at the University of Cape Town are nurturing this new wave, training architects to honor their heritage while innovating boldly. This movement is a collective awakening, a reclaiming of agency in shaping not just buildings, but identities and futures. In the heart of Lagos, Nigeria, a city pulsating with energy and creativity, the fusion of African design and modern architecture takes vibrant form. Here, architects reinterpret traditional motifs like the Adaya textile patterns as perforated screens that play with sunlight and shadow. These screens do more than decorate. They create intimacy within public and private spaces, inviting occupants to dwell in layers of meaning. The urban landscape becomes a canvas where history is inscribed in concrete and steel, a daily reminder of cultural continuity amid rapid change. Lagos exemplifies how African design's rebirth is not a nostalgic revival, but a living, evolving force shaping the cities of tomorrow, where heritage and innovation walk hand in hand. The spiritual dimension of African architecture also finds renewed expression in contemporary designs. Sacred geometries, cosmological alignments, and ritual spaces inspire architects to craft environments that transcend physical function. In Ghana, the use of symbolic motifs, like the Sankofa bird representing the wisdom of looking back to move forward, imbues buildings with layered narrative. These structures invite not only use but reflection, connecting occupants to deeper currents of identity and memory. The rebirth of African design in architecture thus becomes a form of storytelling, where each building is a chapter in an ongoing saga of resilience, creativity, and hope. This intangible heritage enriches the built environment, reminding us that architecture is as much about spirit as stone. Across the African diaspora, this renaissance resonates powerfully. In cities like Atlanta and London, African-inspired architecture becomes a means of reclaiming space and asserting identity in societies shaped by displacement and diaspora. Cultural centers, museums, and public spaces, designed with African motifs and philosophies, become sanctuaries of belonging and pride. They serve as bridges between continents, connecting descendants with their ancestral roots through built form. This architectural language transcends borders, articulating shared histories and aspirations. The rebirth of African design is thus global, a luminous thread weaving through the complex tapestry of identity, memory, and innovation that defines our interconnected world. As this renaissance unfolds, technology plays a pivotal role in expanding the possibilities of African design. Digital fabrication, parametric modeling, and sustainable materials enable architects to translate traditional patterns and forms into contemporary masterpieces. Projects like the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., showcase how African design principles can inform monumental architecture with profound cultural resonance. The museum's intricate facade, inspired by Yoruba crown patterns, embodies a dialogue between heritage and modernity, symbolizing a reclamation of narrative through space. These innovations demonstrate that the rebirth of African design is not a retreat into the past, but a dynamic, forward-looking movement, harnessing the tools of the present to honor the wisdom of generations. The rebirth of African design in modern architecture is at its core a testament to resilience and renewal. It challenges reductive histories and celebrates complexity, beauty, and ingenuity. These buildings stand as monuments not only to the past but to a vibrant future, spaces where culture, environment, and innovation converge. As we witness this renaissance, we are reminded that architecture is more than shelter. It is identity, memory, and hope made manifest. In embracing African design anew, the world opens to a richer, more inclusive vision of what it means to build, belong, and dream. The past is not gone. It lives on, rising again in the walls, patterns, and light of our shared future. This has been Roots Renaissance. See you in the next chapter.